Hi, everybody, and welcome again, day 2 of lockdown, and another edition of what I'm calling Love Amplified. Um, and today I want to start off with a statement. See how this resonates with you. Whatever you were deprived of as a child, you will spend the rest of your life seeking, so that you may feel whole, complete, and enough. How does that sit with you? So, I come from a Generation X, and we've been described as the least parented and least nurtured generation so far. And I grew up in a loving family, but it was never the touchy-feely expression of love, open expression of love type of family. And I can see where some of the things that were lacking show up in my life right now. So the question I want to pose to you is, what were you deprived of as a child? And I'm not necessarily talking about materially, although that comes up, that comes into it. But for most of us, we were deprived of some form of love, which usually came through in the form of touch, attention, affection, recognition, or acknowledgement. And today, as adults, this is what many adults are still seeking, because it was something that was missing for them in their childhood. So, can you pinpoint what was missing for you, and can you see how it presents now in your adult life? Do you have a need or a hunger for praise, a need for certainty, because maybe your childhood was very uncertain? Do you need order, because maybe you grew up in chaos and you adapted now as an adult with a real need for order all the time? Do you require safety? Because maybe you were not safe, either physically or psychologically safe. Do you have a hunger and a need for constant recognition, for acknowledgement? Because invariably, if you really connect the dots, you will find that in some way or another, this was missing for you in your childhood. So Eric Berne, the father of transactional analysis, stated that if you are not stroked, your spinal column will shrivel up. And he coined that phrase from some of the studies done around children in orphanages, babies in particular, whose survival and growth were severely threatened because they were not physically touched. And when you're not stroked, you are under threat on some level or another. And it didn't matter to the babies whether the stroking came in the form of pain or pleasure, as long as there was some kind of physical encounter. And a lot of people settle these days for pain, stroking of pain rather than pleasure. And I think as parents, a lot of us might see in our child the need for stroking, and it shows up in rebellious behavior or misbehaving, because any form of stroking will ultimately be good for the child, even if it is in a negative sense. So how do you become somebody who doesn't need stroking? Because there are very few adults today that do not require some form of recognition, do not require some form of acknowledgement. In working with organizations on a daily basis and coaching people one-on-one and in teams, it is clear how much people desire the need for recognition, for some form of acknowledgement. Coaching a particular team, they were completely up in arms because one of their managers would not greet them in the morning as they walked through the office. And according to Eric Berne, he started to equate this idea called stroking with interactions. So when you say hi to somebody and they say hi back, you've just stroked each other, and those are a single unit of stroking. And how many units of stroking do you require a day for you to feel acknowledged, for you to feel like you matter? And what will it take for you to not need any stroking? Because what lies underneath this need for acknowledgement and stroking is this deep understanding or deep belief that we're not enough. Maybe it started in childhood when we were not given what we needed, um, as often as we needed, as consistently as we needed, that we started to believe that we were not enough. Now, to become somebody who doesn't need stroking, you have to fundamentally know your own enoughness. And to know your own enoughness, you have to know fundamentally who you are. You have to understand the essence of who you are and live into it fully, because then you possibly won't need as much stroking. And when it does come, it's simply the cherry on top. I think more importantly, as parents and teachers, how do you raise kids today to grow up as whole adults, as adults who have a deep understanding of their enoughness? There's that ha-di-da again. How do you raise kids who become whole adults? And in this time of isolation with our families, I think it's a useful time to stroke your kids, to stroke them like they've never been stroked before. And I don't necessarily mean only in the physical. I mean, acknowledge them, see them, stroke them now, and stroke them every day. Give them what they need, recognize them, touch them, give them the attention. You have the time now. So maybe using this will go a long way into some deep work for yourself and for your child. Because I think as parents, we make our children enough through our love for them. And our love is not enough. We have to express that love. We have to give them exactly what it is that they require. There are 4 critical questions that you can use, and I think we possibly answer these questions or ask these questions every day in our interactions with people. But now more than ever, I think we need to reflect on these questions. And the first question is, and it's not a question we ask verbally out loud, it is a question we ask internally. First question is, do you see me? Do you see me? The next one is, do you care that I'm here? Do you express that care? I know I have a tendency to get caught up in my own world and often don't always acknowledge people around me, especially those close to me. And I know that can play havoc with people, and I have to be reminded sometimes that people need to be seen, and they need to know that I care, that they're there. Question number 3, am I enough for you, or do you need me to be better in some way? Everybody wants to know that they're enough. Everybody's struggling with this idea of enoughness. And I think as we interact with our friends, colleagues, family members, loved ones, and children, we can, through not necessarily the words, but through our action, through our way of being, make them feel special, make them feel like they are enough just as they are. And then the last question, can I tell that I'm special to you by the way that you look at me? So your interaction with somebody the energy you bring, the presence you bring in that in that interaction, do they feel special as a result of that? I know it's something, possibly in my professional work, I do fairly well, but not always in my personal capacity. And again, I need these constant reminders around making people close to me feel special simply by the way I look at them. So, the 4 questions again. Do you see me? Do you care that I'm here? Am I enough for you? Or do you need me to be something better in some way? Can I tell that I'm special to you by the way that you look at me? I'm going to leave you with those, and then also reflect again on what you were possibly deprived of as a child and how you try and compensate for that now as an adult. Thank you again for watching, and I'll check in with you again tomorrow, day 3. Stay safe.